Hello, how are you today? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling bad? Do you not really know? Do you wish you knew better? Right? You know, perception is one thing, reality may be a completely different thing, but sometimes what you see is exactly what you see. I know that's confusing, isn't it? We're going to jump into that. But first, let me tell you a little bit about me. My name is Steve Kidd. I'm a third generation minister, an international best-selling author of 21 books and counting. I have had the privilege, though, of working with more than 4,000 authors, helping them write, publish, market their books to bestseller and beyond. And what that means is that there are now literally millions of people whose lives have been touched, and I like to believe changed, because of the work that those people put out into the world. It's such a blessing to get to be able to help them out. Often in life, we find ourselves looking at things and thinking they're one way, when in truth, things are so much different. And I hope to be able to come into your life here today and add some perspective that may massively change your reality. So, what do you see? What do you see when you look at something? There's the old phrase, are you a glasses half empty or are you a glasses half full kind of person? But the thing that we never really talk about with that is whether you see the glasses half full or you see the glasses half empty, one person isn't more right than the other. It's a matter of their perception. It's a matter of what they're seeing in the world. And what you see is what you see. Now, there's part of that that's just, kind of a foregone conclusion. If you see it that way, then it's that way. But it's also the other part of that when you begin to look at things through the lens of how you're always seeing things, you tend to always see things the way that you always see things. It's getting kind of confusing, isn't it? Oh, I'm so glad that I'm confusing you. Um, let's have a little fun with it. There's an old statement that says, to a hammer, everything's a nail. And that really puts the nail right on the head, if you will, because that's what I'm talking about. What you see is what you end up seeing. Now, if you are on Facebook right now, if not, facebook.com/Steve Kidd is my Facebook profile. Not trying to steal you away from other social medias, but that happens to be where the pictures are. Um, you can go and you can look at the cover image that I have there. Beautiful, beautiful image. It speaks to me so much. And the question that I have on that image is, are you weathering the storm or are you the storm? It's fun to look at that picture. I often actually use that picture now in my own life as a way of judging where am I. We all have good days and bad days, and some days you just feel like you're battening down the hatches. And I hope that some of you are looking at that picture right now because it's so powerful. Here's this lighthouse, and I mean the waves are crashing over the top of this giant lighthouse, and thunder and lightning is just flashing, and it looks like, from one way of looking at it, that the poor lighthouse is being struck by lightning from every direction. But then, if you look at it a different way, you can see that at the center of this massive storm is this strong, powerful lighthouse. Is the lighthouse weathering the storm, or is it creating the storm? Are you a magical wizard in your life that is really actually the one, maybe even creating the chaos in your life, that is showing up powerfully and disturbing the very universe with your existence? Or are the waves crashing over top of you and you're being electrocuted from all sides? How many of you looked at it and you thought, in life, right now I'm weathering the storm? How many of you saw it and at first glance you immediately saw the lightning bolts were shooting off of the lighthouse? that the waves weren't crashing on it, they were crashing away from it, emanating from it. You see, that's the question. Are you weathering the storm, or are you the storm? It's not that it's wrong what you see, it's a litmus test of what's going on. That's why I love that picture, why I come back to it very often, actually. And I find myself saying, hey, what's going on? Am I the storm, or am I weathering the storm? It's a good thing for us to keep in mind. There's another one. You have to actually look at the, well, what's now probably the second post, because this one's live here on Facebook, that I just did a few minutes ago. It is this beautiful, and I actually, the picture originally when I got it from the stock photo place that I get pictures from, um, it's not a secret, unsplash.com, is my favorite place to go get free stock photos. And it was in color, and I transformed it in Photoshop to black and white. And that's when the picture, for me at least, became stunning. I was like, oh, wow. I mean, it was a nice picture. It has some beautiful rustic red rocks in it. But for me, some way, it really spoke to me when it went to black and white. And it's been on my computer now for, oh gosh, probably a couple of weeks now, part of some other things that I'm doing and such. But I was looking at it the other day, and I was looking at this tree, and I was like, what is this tree? What do I see when I look at this tree? Is the tree growing? Is it amazing that here is this, though maybe craggy, maybe not real leafy, that this tree is growing in this most harsh of environments? There aren't any other trees. It's not like it's in the middle of a forest. But here's this tree standing there, all gnarled and bent, but it's there, loud and proud. Or is the tree dying or even dead? Was it a tree that tried and for a while succeeded and eventually failed and died off, and it's just this crusty, rotten, possibly even petrified, old, craggy nothing out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert? Again, it's not that either of them are wrong, but it is a really good litmus test of when you see it being what you see, because what you see is impacting what you see. You see? Are you getting it yet, or is it still messing with your brain? I kind of, in a way, hope that it is messing with you still a little bit. You see, we look at things, and our instant reaction, and I'm not saying that we can't then stop and think through it, work our way through it, and be good, but a lot of times our instant reaction is to immediately begin to judge and critique and classify things based on that first look. We do that all too often with people. We immediately, to go into my industry, judge a book by its cover. I'm always telling my clients, it's like, I know that we were told don't judge a book by its cover, but the truth of the matter is we all do. When we go to the library and we're picking out books, we most definitely judge the book by its cover. Back in the day, back when I was in high school, even actually as a young adult, because I used to take my kids to the library every week, and I knew that for them to become readers, I needed to be an avid reader in front of them. Sometimes, parents, that's the best way to get your kids to read. Just have reading time. Oh my gosh, I know this is going to blow away some people's holy cows, but you can turn off the TV. You can take away all of the electronic devices, turn them off, or at least turn the sound off, and everybody could sit around and just read and let their minds expand. So, if I was going to have them read, I needed to too. They needed to see me devouring through books. And my youngest son, Alex, has been massively impacted by the books that I love reading. And he's probably actually a bigger fan and knows better the Terry Brooks books and the Lord of the Rings series. And especially he loves Star Wars. I think he's probably read every Star Wars fan fiction there ever has been written and knows more about it than I'd ever even care to know. And I used to judge the book by its cover. For me, I knew which section of book I wanted to be in. I knew what kind of book, but I would be looking for a new author because I had caught up with all the books in this series from all my favorite authors. So now I needed to find a new one. And I would literally look at the spine size of the books on the shelf, and I would judge just based on how thick the book was. You see, for me, and those of you that, are beginning to get a clue as to why I now work helping people write and publish and market their books, because I love to read. For me, if the book was too small, it meant that until next week, I would be done with the book. In fact, in many cases, it meant that I'd be done with the book this afternoon. And then what was I going to do for the next week? Did I reread the book so that I could do like I was saying and participate with the kids in reading? Did I get like 5 books and take them home? And have been times when most definitely I've done that. And there are some of my authors that, I read a book by Stephen King that was 25 pages long. Great book. Just really basically Stephen King proving that he could write a short read and it could be powerful. So it isn't about the size of it, but at this particular point, I was getting big, long tomes of books so that they would last long enough to get me through the week. We do look at the outside cover and is it attracting to us? Is it detracting from us? Does it scare us? Does it scare us in a good way? The same thing's true with people. And it isn't that we're trying to be cruel, but sometimes we just see somebody and there's things about them that are disconcerting to us, maybe even a turnoff. Now, sometimes, in fact, probably most of the time, if we take the time to get to know that person, we find out that our original perception was totally wrong. Other times, we find out that first glance of that person, I was absolutely right. They are all of that in a bag of chips, maybe even a little worse. Got to kind of test your gut on that sometimes a little bit, don't you? But the other side of that is what we see is impacting what we see. A friend of mine is dating this guy right now, and she's so in love with him, and I'm happy for her. So I'm not in any way dissing her, but the guy happens to look a little bit like somebody that's very triggering to me. And so when she sends me pictures of her and her boyfriend, I cringe almost always the first time. Sorry to say it. It really makes me seem bad. I know, I'm sorry, but it's just true. Now, the guy treats her very well, and that's all that really matters because that's all we want for our friends is just to be loved and treated well. But I have to admit, on initial glance, every time, I have that little shudder because of the other person that's not a very nice person that they remind me of. You see, what I see is impacting what I see. I have to stop for a minute and remind myself that it's not that other person and that this person is being very nice to my friend, and then rejoice with her rather than, wondering how long it's going to be before this guy's a jerk to her. Just being honest with you. You see, what you see is impacting what you see. Same thing's true in reverse. If there are particular things that really attract you to a person, you can find yourself attracted to, let's just say, less than people. Okay? Trying to be nice here. And that attraction can get us in a lot of trouble because what our eyes see is impacting our ability to be able to see what everybody else in the world sees. Have you ever been in a relationship and then after the relationship's over, a friend tells you just how bad it always was? And you're like, oh my gosh. You don't hear it. You don't see it because what you see is impacting what you see. I want you to think about that. I want you to look at those pictures and I want you to just be honest with yourself. There's no wrong answers. What do you see when you look at those pictures? And then I want to encourage you. I created something for you. It's really simple, really basic, costs 25 bucks. So it's very, very affordable. And it's the opportunity for you to look at motivation, the momentum that comes from that motivation. Momentum is a powerful thing. And I do relate it to sports and how a team that's losing can get the momentum and go forward from when they were sure to lose and miraculously win the game. You need that momentum. You need to change what you see so that it can impact what you see differently. So let me put the link down in here for you so that you can get that if you'd like to. I'd love to see you begin to develop momentum in your life. Begin to develop a vision for seeing things differently because what you see is impacting what you see. And if you need help with it, ever, I'd love to help you. My name is Steve Kidd. And guess what? You can go to askstevekidd.com. That's AskStevekidd.com. And you can get a hold of me, get right on my calendar, and we can talk about anything I can do to help you anytime. I'm here for you. I appreciate all that you do and all that you mean to be in the world. Thanks for being you. I hope that as the storm, I can feel, and you can maybe even see it getting, well, you probably can't because of this background. But if I didn't have the background back there, you could see it's rolling in and the thunder and lightning you maybe heard a couple of times during this. And I'll probably sit and spend some time just really enjoying the lightning and the thunder. I'm weird that way. I really like that stuff. But I hope that wherever you are, you feel happy, you're safe, warm and loved, that you know how powerfully impactful you are, that you know you are uniquely brilliant, that you were created for a purpose, and you know that the world needs you. If there's anything I can do for you, again, askstevekidd.com. Go get that momentum course. It'll change your life. It really will. It'll be the best $25 you ever spent. And until we're together again next time, I hope that you really, really do have a great week.